Alrighty, let's get this show on the road. So I have no idea whether or not my setup is going to work today or not. We'll just have to wing it and see what happens. Because yeah, it's just one of those post-camp days. So let me just get one piece of software popped, and then we are ready to switch to live screen. I'm gonna give this a try and see if it works. You're seeing a lot of junk on my screen because I'm not zoomed in properly at the moment. Give me a quick split sec to do that. There we go. We're getting closer in, a little bit less keyboard and such. So these are the parts we've got so far. We are working on today a wooden, it says wooden puzzle, but it's actually like a lantern puzzle. There we go. Courtesy of our fine Secret Santa. So that was wonderful and a half. So thank you, Fantastic Sherlock Fox, for being here and for playing some Hangman. I do apologize. I was a little bit delayed this morning because Camp Crud got me, and so I was in the middle of a coughing fit when I hit go live, which meant I had to disappear and deal with that before I came back. So, desk is a bit messy because these are the little wood bits from last week. I was not organized enough to clean it up. I had other things on the menu with camp and so on. So we'll just have to see how it goes. Oops, let's see if I can pan this just a little bit to the right. There we go. All right. So now inside the box is where our instructions got to. And we have paper instructions because it was turned out when I went to scan it, it was just a little bit too large. So we've got paper instructions and a whole bunch of sheets of punch-out pieces. I can just actually get into the box. Here we go. So there's the sheet. And here's the... Oh, come on. Here's the wood bits, but they came out last week a lot easier than they are this week. Got a sanding piece, just in case we need that. We are okay. You can see we've got a series of punch-out pieces that we can work with. Now, where did we leave off? Oops. I'm gonna ditch my watch because I realize it's dead anyway. And charge it up. Apple Watches, love them. I really do. That's not meant to be sarcastic, but they do need charging. Okay, I was working on this tall section and we were putting little discs on the bottom last week, so that should be page 2. Okay. Yeah, so we just finished off this step here. Now we're going to flip over and do this step here, which is kind of hard to see on screen. I do apologize. But once again, if I can find it, there we are. I'm going to mark it with the rock. So the rock is going to point at what we're working on. And I'm just going to slide that to the upper right a little bit here. I know it's not great to see with these lights. They reflect off the sheet, and I don't like that, but can't do a whole lot to help that. All right, the other thing, we're going to try this build as long as I can handle it, but I don't know if it shows on camera. Yeah, not really well, but I have, you can sort of see it here. I have irritated my fingers a little bit at camp. We were out in the minus temperatures and I had the fingertips exposed a little bit too often. And then after I had my shower when I came back, we, as a family, played a whole bunch of heave-ho. And if you've ever played heave-ho, you're gonna grip your play controller really, really, really tightly. Just a thing you tend to do. So the resulting effect of that is I blistered my thumb quite badly. For some reason, it just does not like the joystick section of the controller when my skin is fresh out of a shower. So we'll do what we can, but if it gets too uncomfortable, we'll switch over and do some grinding on the modded Minecraft server. Okay, there we go. So let's see where we're at. We need 6 pieces from sheet B3. B parts B3. We need 6 of these, and they only give us 6, so we need to make sure not to wreck them. And then we're going to have the decorative side, which is this side. There we go. So you can see these lovely things. Oh, maybe. Yeah, so that's the decorative side. And the other side is, as you can see, very blank. So the decorative side on the outside edge, clearly. And we have to get those installed on, I believe it's this base. Nope. C2, so it's a whole different sheet. Excellent. Okay. Good to know. So we got to get all of those bits going. We had a great stream weekend yesterday. I really enjoyed it. The stream team was amazing. I was not able to watch very many of the streams because I was away at scout camp, but what I did catch in summary and conversation after the fact was really cool. I missed some of the ones I really wanted to see, and not all of them have VODs for later, but you know, you do what you can, and what I was hearing was very, very positive, so very glad to see that. C2. Okay, and C2 just popped itself right out the moment I picked up the sheet, so I think we're okay there. Love to keep these things off screen so we have more build space, but it's not actually all that easy. My desk needs some serious rearranging, we'll put it that way. Okay, so move this up and that. We'll see if we can come in just a little closer for this part of it, so you guys can see what I'm trying to do, because it's not that easy, and hopefully it'll clear up its focus. Oh, that's creepy close. Can't win them all. Try that. My hands are like weird, so that's bothering me too. Yeah, a little quieter than previous stream weekends for sure. Even my numbers were a little lower. Though I did fairly well given that I went from my stream into Dadcraft's stream, and that helps. Okay, so C2. Oops, C2 has all these. Let's just get them slotted in. The ones that are hard to show you guys first. You know, one of the things I'm thinking as part of my room rearrangement is having the camera over my left rather than on the right. And that would make it a little bit easier for you guys to see some of these things because being right-handed, my hand gets in front of the camera. Minneapolis Mel apparently has nothing on her schedule. I would have loved to wake up for some of the nighttime streamers, but yeah. I've done that a few times when we've had stream weekends in the past. I've stayed up for a lot of the nighttime streamers. Uh-oh. This is a flat desk, and this thing is rocking, so it suggests that I somehow did not keep the moisture out of the box, and it's a little warped, which is not great. We can totally do the project, but I feel bad for not having taken care of it. It could make lining things up a bit more challenging. Okay, so the next thing that the instructions want us to do, I'll slide it in, then I'll slide it back out. Here, now that we're taking this decorative sheet we just built, we're going to slide it onto the bottom of the section we had earlier. And hopefully it'll stay. So move this back out of shot. So these go together. Oh, let's get together, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like a Freaky Friday moment. Or like Parrot Trap. But anyway. Yeah, there was, it was actually surprising to me when I left for camp on Friday, there were still gaps in the schedule for the stream weekend. I think it's just a busy spring, and not everybody's able to do as much streaming as they would normally like. So I can get some of these lined up, and some things just don't want to go. So this one, trying to get a little tab underneath. This way, tab, line up with the hole on top, and it's not working all that well. It's too bad because I was hoping it would help hold things in. There we go, there's one. Ow. One. And two, maybe? Maybe? Come on. Trying to get this other, there we go. Put that one. I get this to line up here. Two, okay. Maybe the warp is a good thing, who knows? Or not. Line up, thank you. Line up, tap in a little more. Okay, let's get this one. I moved off camera again, sorry. You know you're too close when. 1, 2, 3, so I'm gonna have to press these together a bit more, but I have to get the last couple lined up before I can do that. It's not fitting that well. Okay, are you lined up? Nope, you're not. That's the one. Ow. So most of these are working, I just seem to have trouble with this corner here. One or both of these are not lining up nicely. Come on, you. I can feel it when it pops into the hole properly. It's got a left-right centering issue. There we go, that's better. Finally, okay. We can see we've got it all sandwiched together. Just gonna try and squish it all the way around. Come on, you. This one. There we go, that's better. The next piece they want me to do... Oh, once again we have another step where they just show us that thing completed. So you're not missing anything. 19. Now they want us here to take this section that we've got in our hands and put it on top of this section that we built earlier. So hopefully that will cooperate nicely. I'm hoping. Come on, you. Line up. Ouch. Sorry. First quarter does not want to line up. Hold on. I can see it. I can see it. You can see it. It's just not wanting to go in. So I may have to rotate and try again. These are not wanting to line up nicely. If I can get one corner to start, then we can actually, if there's one, we can sort of work our way around the outside. Finally, okay, great. Now, if I get them to line up enough, we can get them all in. That'd be a no, okay. Always one, you know? That's this one here. Does not want to go in. And I don't want to break anything, because I've already broken it a couple times. Puzzle. Go. There we are. Now, can I exert enough pressure to get it to go together? We might have to keep the gap, I think, just because I'm not getting it to go in further successfully. Maybe? It's funny that when you yell at it and say, yep, I'm gonna have to give up on you, you suck, then it's when it wants to cooperate a bit better. But I do have to be careful not to press hard enough to crunch the wood. I can definitely say it's got a press fit to it that makes me very confident it will not pop apart, so I'm not needing at the moment glue or anything like that to make this thing stay together. But the key is, of course, also finding the correct spots to press, where you have bracing with the vertical sections. Okay, so now that we've got that together, the next step wants me to take, I'm going to zoom this out just a little bit, wants me to take the lantern section, the decorative chunk that we've worked on so far, and put that down in the center. So more pressing and fitting and whatever. And I get this to stay. Line up these, maybe? Ooh. It's one of those ones where you feel it and then it doesn't want to go. See the hole. Ah! See the hole. Get it back on there, maybe? Rotate. Wait, try again. Here we are. Alright, so that slides in. It seems to be sitting nicely. For the step they want next, they just give us, yet again, another picture of, oops, it's reflecting, that's not helping. There we go. So, another picture of the completed section. I don't know why they bother to do that in some of these, once you've got it right, but I'm not going to argue. Okay, so we know at the top of the next page, which is why we're tossing around here. Alright. So now, not entirely sure what we've got here. I think it's a whole bunch of circular discs with little plus shapes in them. You can sort of see that kind of shape. We're not super zoomed on it because by the time I get the pieces put on things, you're gonna have trouble seeing it, so we'll put that step up there. They say A7. A bunch of these, which I think is what they're referring to. We need 6 of these A7 pieces. 2, 3, that's not the one I bruised. 4. There's no spares in this case, so I have to be careful with them as I like try to wriggle them out. Come on. 5. Hello, these. There we go. And 6. Alright, and then they've got a little curved line you can see on the top here, and I think that goes on the outside edge, according to what I'm seeing in these pictures. So we have to put them on such a way that those are all on the outside. It looks like it's some sort of brace to hold them together. Yeah, that's always a challenge. I know I was bugging Dadcraft about the whole staying on camera bit. It's not easy, not by any stretch of the imagination. Oops, come on down. There we go. Definitely not easy to stay on camera. But also personal taste is that when you've got a camera that can do autofocus, I actually would rather deal with the autofocus than with, oh, I pushed them all the way down. Okay. Deal with the autofocus rather than the zoom, than being at the wrong height and not having it focused at all. But that doesn't necessarily mean that my camera is going to cooperate that way. See, I do have to press these down, but I figured I might as well get them all on first, and then we can try to press them down. Because really it's just holding the cross beams together. Stay on target, stay on target. Yeah, it's like a Star Wars thing. Okay, can I? Come on, you. It's not quite centered. So what we're having happen here is these verticals, as they get a little bit warped, they're sliding out of position left and right, which is part of what the little discs we're putting on is supposed to prevent or hold into place. So I'm trying to get them to line up so they'll actually go slide down. And it's definitely a difficult press fit. But on the pictures, the curve is certainly in the outside. So I know I don't have them on backwards. And they have all the little numbers facing up. So I know I don't have that part incorrect, which means they're in the right spot, they're just not sliding on. I'm not sure how far down they're supposed to go. The pictures look like it's all the way to the base of these sections, but I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get it to do that. Maybe, maybe not. This one I'm trying to yell at it to see if that effect works, but it's not doing as much. Come on, go. Go. I will admit, I had some funny dents in my fingers when I was done last week, and I have a suspicion we're going to have another repeat of that. I can access all of these. I don't have pliers that would fit a slot this big. Otherwise, I would grab the ones from my metal earth kit and start using those. Well, there's sandpaper. They gave me sandpaper, but I just don't... If I don't have to sand something, I don't want to. Because if you can get it to fit without the sanding process, then you're sure it's not going to come apart, right? But if I have to, I will. Like there's an edge here that I certainly will because, I don't know if you guys can see this, there's a little bit of wood hanging off the edge there that shouldn't be. One of those days, actually, I wish I had a really fine file that wasn't a fingernail file. The other part is I'm always worried that I'm going to take off too much. But, I mean, if it does mean that I'm ruining things by leaving too much on and not getting it to fit properly, then that's a whole different story. Okay, let's go down. Fit. A lot of it's lining it up. Okay, you, go. So Jabe was putting together a clock that you guys have seen posted in Discord, and it's amazing. And I have a suspicion she's far less chicken about sanding things than I am. I probably gave him a good old buff before she actually did anything with them. So there's probably tips and tricks I could learn. You know, this is my first wood puzzle, but so far I'm really enjoying it. And I hope you guys are okay going on this journey with me. A little high. And here, I think that's flat enough. We can only do our best, right? Disc. Yeah, making and Lego setups, stream setups, are definitely a challenge some days. To get working just right. There's almost always tech issues or layout issues or workflow issues. I would be surprised if there wasn't some sort of other issue that I haven't thought of yet, but probably have had, or if I haven't had it, I'm going to have it. Just the way life goes. It's part of the learning process, right? Come on, you. This one's definitely off center. There we go. Come on. Got you down. Now what? There are days I would say even wee bricks are easier. Just rock. Rock gently. The front to back seems to be not a problem in most of these discs. This one's a little biting me a bit. Come on. Why are you biting me? Okay. Well, what I can do, one thing, is try a different disc. Sorry. That one was my blister. Did it fit properly or no? I'm getting like partway through that it's sort of frustrating that I'm close, you know? This one fits on the front, so I guess I'll start the back part first maybe, and see if I can get the front to fit after. There we go. That's a little better. Yeah, that one actually went nicely. When I took off, hopefully it will work on the next piece. There. Mama Bear, good to see you. Good to see you. Welcome aboard. There are quite a number of people that are really struggling with the time change, both in terms of their own rhythms and sense of time. I'm always one of those. But there's also people that are struggling with time change in terms of getting themselves to places, because there's a whole lot of the world, I shouldn't say a whole lot, there's, in my purview, as limited as it is, there are quite a number, oh, this is too wide, okay, quite a number of places that don't change, just in our circle, like our community and stuff. And so some people may be in the spots that don't change.
Thank you for the 19 months of subscribing, J1976.
And needing to be somewhere to pick their time isn't very common. So watching your favorite show or stream or something like that can be a little more challenging. Congratulations on being here first. That should have shown up on screen, but I don't know if it did. There we go. Okay, let's see if that's a better fit. Hopefully it will be. There we are. Hey Jay, welcome on in. That's almost a, it's almost a, what do you call it? A J command. The whole being here first thing. I keep saying I'm going to put in the first, second, third part now that I've found easy instructions for that. Or, well, I shouldn't say easy, but an importable set of instructions for that. I just haven't got around to it. Maybe this is my round to it, right? Yeah, this one just does not like me. So let's try once again like we did before. Grab one of the next one pieces and see if that does it. I'm really hoping that the last pillar we've got here will actually just fit this silly piece, because sanding the inside is not easy. That's not a tool I have. I don't have round tiny rasps or tiny files that you can put inside. The inside files? Yeah. But I'm starting to think that that might be the case. Next one definitely looks like it needs the sand anyways, though. Oswin, they weren't talking to you. You know, starting to think, because Oswin says the same thing about keeping it brief all the time, I may actually set up an action that if that's what specifically is said in chat, it gets deleted. Because I've tried 6 ways to Tuesday to tell Oswin to shush up and not complain about being brief. And he keeps doing it, so I might have to specifically say, yeah, if this is what you say, your message will be deleted. that going to be enough? Let's see. Let's see whether we can get this monster on. You hear me talk about the camp crud, but that's just the nickname we've given it when you end up with an extra load of congestion that everybody seems to get after you've been around campfire smoke. But I seem to have seasonal sinus congestion, colds, postnasal, whatever all that is. Like that type of sinus cold thing that starts just before Canadian Thanksgiving in October and lets up in May. It's joyous. But also with my ADHD meds, I'm not allowed to take, well, not now, I shouldn't say not allowed, I was specifically warned off taking decongestants with them. And so detoxing my system supposedly would take multiple days to do properly from the ADHD meds, so it's really not worth it. However, post-camp crud, I was really wishing for it. Like wishing I could do that, so I don't know, we'll have to see. But that's something I'm gonna have to talk to my doctor about and be like, hey, you know, this is the situation, so do we have something else we can do, or would I be better off just to not be doing meds for a while? And that's a decision that I'd have to make with people outside of me, because I'm not always aware of how well things are or are not working. And yes, that's my... people say that's my excuse lately. And I think part of it is just because I'm finding out more and more about what is and isn't part of that. Anyway, I'm loving this build. It's fiddly, but I love it. Okay, well that part moves. Came up, not down. Down, that's not good. Think we can get away with this one? Okay, I think we're okay. There's not a whole lot of tolerance in this. Alright, so the next step, I'm going to block the light again. The next step we've got, you can sort of see in the corner there. They want us to take 6 more of these little decorative fence things. I'll show you one close up. And put them, somewhere? I don't know. I guess they fit... Oh, I see. Okay, there's slots in the edge of these little discs here. And so those decorative bits fit in the slots. Okay, F2. Let's see if we can find those. F2. Okay, so we've got these lovely decorative pieces. I'm leaning into the camera. It's not great. But yes, we've got those lovely decorative pieces, and they will fit in the slots, apparently. Excuse me just a moment. Good. Sorry about that, everybody. As I said, Camp Crud's got a good hold on me. Okay. There's 2, 3, 4. Thumbs are huge. Wow. And 6. Okay, let's see if we can get these to stay. I'm not entirely clear on how low these are supposed to go, where exactly they're supposed to fit. I don't know if it's just sitting in here. It looks like the arch feet fit in the slots, sort of. And sort of seems to be the operative word here. I'm hearing a click I don't like. The moment they seem to just sit there. Pardon me. I'm not entirely sure that's the way it's supposed to be. Because that doesn't look right, but I can get them to start fitting, then I can press them in after, I think. You can go in. In, please?
Check it.
Come on. That feels more solid as it slides in. This one. Can you? There we go. Okay, so this one slid in nicely. The first one did not. in and in on this side. Are. Wow, that was fast. That was really fast. Either that or I'd forgotten about the puzzle, I'm not sure which. So we're trying to get this to fit in the slots. There's one, and down. This one may have gone all right on its own. Feels doubtful, but we'll see. My tensions are a little bit off on these, so we'll just have to see how it turns out down the road. Jay's clock, by the way, was far more complex than the puzzle she sent me. So, I'll have to see how well I can figure these out. Maybe that's part of the puzzle, is like the patience part. Anyhow, you know, one of the toughest things that I find to do during any stream whatsoever is the banter content. However, Fantastic Sherlock Fox made a good point. I mean, he makes notes about what he wants to talk about on stream. You should see it. It's actually kind of... I thought it was amusing when I first saw it, like his note list. But it does mean he doesn't end up rambling on random whatever about anything. The flip side, though, is it does mean that sometimes it's a little bit more difficult to respond to chat and go with the flow. I go with the flow because I write notes and then I don't like them, or I just forget altogether to write the notes. So different strokes for different folks, and different things work for different people. I've heard that apparently Fox is not the only one that does that, though, that writes sort of speaking notes, things you want to cover, things you want to talk about. So I don't know if I can get myself back into that and give it a try, but it'll help. Pardon me, sorry. Fantastic Sherlock Fox made some fantastic nachos for last night. The kids and he had it during my stream slot yesterday, but I had it afterwards, and I think I pigged out just a little bit much because they're really good, and I ate the rest of the leftovers, which was probably more than anybody else ate on the tray. That's kind of rude, but on the other hand, it was that good. And I think it could be because my camp food over the weekend was terrible. No offense intended to the people that made it, but it was not great. On the other hand, part of it was my fault. And what I mean by that is that I had a bit of a wheat buildup sensitivity going in. And so rather than risk that on some of the food items, I instead chose to note my way out of some of the bread products and go with some lefse that I had brought. So if you're not familiar with lefse, it's a Scandinavian flatbread. Basically, it looks like a tortilla. And it's made out of generally mashed potatoes. And my mother, sometimes she'll do it with potato flour, sometimes she'll do it with just regular flour, like regular wheat flour. But even when it's regular wheat flour, it's just enough to hold it together. So so it was a safer choice if build-up sensitivity is what's going on. And this particular set's more than he was in the freezer for a little bit of time, more than a year old, I guess. So they worked out fine, and they still tasted fine. And it definitely was less sweet than if I'd had, say, like pancakes or hot dog buns or something. But the bacon was super greasy, and when they served it, they let it sit in the pan that slowly had grease dripping into the pan from the bacon itself. The hot dogs at lunch were burnt. As you can understand, I noped my way out of a grilled cheese sandwich, which was probably, in the end, turned out to be a good idea because the grilled cheese sandwiches were burnt. And what else? I'm trying to remember. Oh, supper was tacos. That turned out well. So that was a good one. But then it was, the meat and stuff had all been pre-cooked at home, and the leaders just had to reheat it. So that was actually half decent. But I also, on Saturday, had a, instead of having just, instead of just having the burrito from, or burrito by that point, I guess, but the taco, soft taco from our Cub section, which was like the younger ones, where the leaders cook for the kids, instead of having just that. I also was happy enough to eat a skewer, because, like a shish kebab, single one, because our, well, two I guess, but because our scout section, the older ones, they don't eat with the cubs. They don't cook with the cubs. Most camps. They cook for themselves, so their patrol cooks together, and they decide in advance what they're going to have for a menu. And they had decided on build your own shish kebab skewers, which I thought was a great idea. But some of the leadership were nervous because we've had issues in the past with youth not wanting to cook food, like meat products, all the way through, and of course for health reasons that's essential. So we were quite worried about this one, and they just needed supervision. But that's fine, because we gave them said supervision, and their kebabs turned out great. And they actually did a very good job of deciding on their own when they thought the meat was done before they would even bother to ask, hey, is it cooked enough that I can eat it? And there was not one kid where we had to say, no, it's not ready yet. Even those that normally we're aware of don't like char and are really fussy about that, they were willing to virtually blacken their steak before it was considered edible for them. And so I gave them serious credit in that respect. So, I mean, I helped when they had made it clear they weren't going to use all the product they brought, or was brought for them, I guess. Then I decided to make my own kebab out of their leftovers, and that worked out fairly well. It was yummy, but I think that's where I froze my fingers, because it was really cold. Like, we talked about it yesterday a little bit, but we had minus 15, I think, with wind chill through most of the overnight. So minus 15 Celsius, and then you add wind chill to that to get closer to minus 20 overnight. The next day was supposed to be like a high of minus 3, I think it was, but then you had wind chill again, which of course, you know, affects fingers and whatever. And so when the products were out for the shish kebabs, I had to wait for all the scouts to be done first, and then by the time I got to make mine, it was, the meats and everything were visually starting to freeze, like you could see ice crystals and stuff. And our bell pepper pieces they had cut, yeah, definitely were fully frozen at that point. So it cooked all right. I mean, I made sure it was healthy before I touched it, or not touched, ate it. But I think I just got a little too cold on that one, because it hurt my fingers on that one. Anyway, so I had that. It was good. And then the second skewer I had was all their leftovers of fresh pineapple, because I don't know what it was, but they mysteriously decided they were full after they each had 1 to 2 like half-filled skewers. So I don't know what they were going to do for the evening, but they didn't have any other options in their dish kit or in their food kit that they had brought, so who knows. Anyway, they didn't complain. Nobody said they were hungry, because we had other things we could have offered them, you know, granola bars and such, and not a one complained. So whatever. And every one of them said that they would do it again, kebabs again, but they wanted to do it at a sort of more spring summer camp, which I can't blame them. It was ruddy cold. The other thing, though, is that now that they've all had the chance to see how well it needs to be cooked by doing their own, we did that on purpose, because that way, if one person got sick, we knew that they weren't going to have made anyone else sick with undercooked food. But now that they know what it looks like, even under supervision, we could probably do it in future where they could nominate 1 to 2 to go under better shelter, because they go cooked over open campfire. But go under better shelter and make up, say, an entire cookie sheet full of skewers for everybody, like in advance. And then we come out and cook them all at once. And that would mean that you could do it when the products are warmer and not frozen. So yeah, that's probably a good thing. Okay, so it just doesn't want to hold together, but I think we've got that level done. So then we put now we've got A2. Oh, bring this over. Okay, so step 24, where we're at here, they now want us to put a disc, they're marking it A2, on top of all that mess. So let's get that rolling. Yep. A2. I keep looking at my thumb because you can barely see it, but there's actually a circle right in here, about this size, the end of a wooden pencil. And that part's actually blistery white, but it's not quite raised enough to actually be a proper blister, but the whole zone is sore. So I'm just being a whiner. That's my crown all around for you. Part of that was from actually, they say part of that was from actually making my skewers. So I froze everything. Or, well, I froze everything. It was frozen. I made my dinner. And then we, then while it was cooking, when I very first popped it on the grill that we had, then I flipped inside. We had a shelter for our younger section, like a cabin. Hall, I guess, really. And they had in there a makeshift wash stand, I guess. Like a sink for everybody to wash up their hands for dinner and stuff like that. And so I washed up there, but they didn't heat the water. It was just room temperature, well, or whatever was cold out of the tap when they brought it from the city. And then just never heated it after that. Okay. Why aren't these going in? Yeah. So anyways, but that temperature on my cold fingers unfortunately felt like it was warm water, and in some cases actually felt hot. So you know you've got a problem when that's the case. Anyway, I didn't think it was as bad as it was, but I don't think I'm going to have any damage issues long term or anything stupid like that. Just it's a little sore for a few days. Okay, so the sinks we had, actually that sink is something worth mentioning because it's a cool project. Cool project. So it's when you go to, like, you know, your local Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever, you can get, I think they're 5-gallon pails. I think something like that. Often you get them in, like, Lowe's will be orange, or sorry, Lowe's will be white with a blue logo, I think, or blue with a white logo. And Home Depots are usually orange with white writing on them. But you see them also used for, like, paint and things like that, right? There we go. And so you take a couple of those buckets. Oh, okay, one of these things is not staying in properly. You take a couple of those buckets and you put, there we go, that's better. You put a hole in the side of it near the top lip, and then they put a hose through that hole. We usually use some PVC pipe to guide the hose on the inside, and then that goes down inside and it'll go down to the bottom. It usually is like, you know, food grade kitchen hose like you'd have under your sink or whatever, and you put that into the bottom, and then the hose further up the outside will go up to a usually PVC shape, like a tap per se. It's like your kitchen tap that comes up and over, and that section, it's not right near the bucket. It's going to be on the lip of a bucket sitting on top of the first bucket. So the bottom bucket will get clean water in it. Then you'll put the lid on the bucket, and then after the lid, you'll put. Oh, I'm going to have to zoom out again. Okay, that's fine. Excuse me. After the lid, you'll put the upper bucket, which is going to hold your gray water, your dirty, messy water. And on the lid on the top lip of that, we've chosen to use the lip of a third bucket, but I mean, you can do it with just the lid of a second bucket. But we've got a hole in the center of the lid for that the upper bucket. And then if you can do it with a lip that you cut off a third bucket over top of that, or better yet, even jam the lid of the upper bucket into the top lip thing, so you've sort of got a basin. And then you can clip onto the top side of that, the tap shape piece, and feed your food grade hose up through that. So the one that's coming from the clean bucket. Then you got two pieces. But then in between, that's the complicated part I forget, is they've got like a rubber squeeze bulb. It's open at both ends, and so then that's your pump section. It's got like a valve in it and stuff. And so the idea being is you pump the water out of the clean bucket at the bottom, and it goes up through the plastic piping and comes out at the top, and that's what you use to wash your hands. And there it is, A5. So now we need a lot of these little tiny ones here. So we have 6 of them, and then they did not give us any spares, so we're getting smaller, and I have to make sure I don't lose them. Anyway, so this bucket is great, but if we keep it outside in the cold, understandably, it freezes, right? So we kept it inside the hall section of the building that we were using for the younger sections. But as I said, it was cold water when it went in, and cold water came out of people's pipes at home to fill our storage jugs. and then cold water, or whatever temperature it was after the drive, just as long as it was unfrozen, went into the clean water vessel, and that was that. That's all you got. So it was a little cold. Most of the kids were saying, "Oh, the water's cold," and some of the ones who've been in our group longer have said, "Yeah, well, you should have been at some of the previous camps where they had the thing outside and generally didn't heat it." So we ended up with like ice damming in the pipes and stuff. It was not pleasant. I would, yeah. I will take a picture of the bucket thing. There might be a design on the web, so I'll see if I can find that. But yeah, definitely worth taking a picture of. Hard to explain, and I could... Actually, let me just... Rather than taking pictures, I'm in a drawing mood. I'm going to derail for a minute. Squirrel! You know, all that. Where is my squirrel paper? Here's a pencil. That's a pencil. That's a good start. Maybe I don't. Come on, pencil. Here we go. Okay, so let's sketch. Nope, that one's got scrap. There we go. I have two different scrap bins from those page-a-day calendars. The one's blank on the back and one's not. Okay, so this one. So you get yourself your, you'll have like 3 of the buckets, right? And then the bottom one, I'll make this a little bit bigger, but the bottom bucket, I'm not a great drawer, so you have to just bear with me. We'll have a hole near the top, and you can use a screw-on lock or something if that's your bag. But we usually use a PVC pipe of some sort that comes down inside just to help guide our food grade hose. Okay, and this is your clean water level. I'm going to go C for clean. And then so out of this hosing, right, they come down to your more or less circular oblong, whatever, it's your little pump thing. If you're lucky enough to be able to get it to reach the ground, that's ideal. I'm going to zoom this just a bit for you guys. Not great for drawing, but we'll see. Ah! Yeah, maybe not quite that good. Okay, so I should probably do this in a different thing. Let's kill this light. Oh, that's better. Okay, so you got your bucket with your hose, your clean water. So then your food grade hose comes out to the pump. The pump. Okay, and that's the part that you're going to squeeze it so that it sucks all the water out of there. Then the other end of it will come back up, and you've got a second bucket. Goes over top, and it's going to have so it's got its little lip that they all have the lip with the handle and whatever. So this one will have the lip from a third bucket. This is where the third bucket comes in. That will sort of sit kind of on top of the other one. I'm drawing it slightly bigger for emphasis purposes. So the top one will sit there, and that's where you'll jam inside the push in the lid from the second bucket. That you've put a hole in the center. Okay, so that's your basin piece. Then this crazy food hose we got going. You can actually, if you want, you can build yourself like a PVC pipe. We've even used a metal kitchen faucet, although, as you can imagine, in the winter that became a problem. Your food grade PVC whatever thing. So your hose goes up inside that, right? So you can have the spray out the other end with all the pumping and stuff. And then this part in here, this water level, is of course all your dirty water after the fact. We've done one of the sinks, I think, has one of the little metal, like a metal sink strainer piece. I don't know if it was designed for a sink because it doesn't have the hole for putting a plug in, but it could also be a shower drain type. I'm not entirely sure, but it was small. And we've sandwiched that in. Now the lid from bucket 3, because they often come with lids, is often what we use over the top during the day just to keep bugs and flies and whatever out of it. So that, and you can imagine, you take this whole plastic setup, mostly plastic. I mean, you've got, a couple of clamps here and there that have to hold hoses and stuff in. But you take this whole setup outdoors in below freezing temperatures, and it gets pretty frozen. Like we've had it where stuff is frozen in the bottom water, the clean water section. We've had it freeze in the pipes, so somewhere along the line, like there was ice jams in there. We've had ones where somebody decided, well, we know it's too cold, we're just going to boil water, and then people can, like, it'll be cool enough, in quotes, by the time people go to use it. Turned out that was not the case, as you can imagine. So, yeah, we didn't burn any kids, but there were 1 or 2 leaders that, like, they got up there, they touched the bottom of the bucket with their foot before they started to pump, and they're like, yeah, no. Just no. So they had to scoop out some of the water because they'd overfilled it and put in some cold to cool everything off. And then, I mean, sometimes we'll get an augmented one. I think one of our buckets has an augment on the side that just holds one of those little, like, wire baskets for your soap bottle. Right. So, and so the idea being you can either have a liquid pump soap, which is what we usually use, or if you're the type that's a bar soap fan for your camp situation, then that works well too. We just found it was just a pain in the neck to deal with bar soaps and stuff that go all over the place. They get dropped on the ground, they get dirty, it's not a good scene. So yeah, but that was our camp setup. And so I went in with very, very cold hands, and this was just like kitchen, city temperature cold water tap, and then, you drive like an hour out of town with it in a truck bed or generally exposed. And so yeah, they were pretty cold. So yeah, that was not pleasant. Anyway, that's my sketch. I'm actually surprised how well I did, considering I'm not a drawer. Okay. DC's a much better drawer than I am. He says, I'm an excellent drawer. I have to tease him, though, because my accent version is terrible. So there's always apologies necessary. Ads in 2 minutes, yeah. So those things were neat, though, because when we went to Jamboree last summer, what was it, the Canadian one? But no, it's called the Pacific Jamboree. And when we went to the Pacific Jamboree, we drove out and stuff. We took 2 of these sinks with us. And you would not believe the number of other groups that were very, very interested in learning how we made them. Because they wanted to build some for their group as well. It was actually funny because we joked that had there been a print shop on site, we probably would have had somebody sketch it up on the site and get it all photocopied because there was enough requests. And some groups wanted to photograph the sink and photograph parts of it when we had to take it apart to empty the grey water and so on. It was really quite amusing. So it looks like these bits I'm putting on now are more or less decorative locks, I guess, to lock all the other parts together. So I do like that. But in any case, so I went in and washed up, and it felt a little bit too warm. Like, yeah, because of how my fingers were already cold and probably partly frozen, that the cold water didn't feel good. So I went out and had a great skewer afterwards. But I will admit, I definitely used my gloves. I mean, it was cooked food, so it's not a big deal and stuff. But yeah. Hey Ross, how goes? This is certainly not a scary game, nor having anything to do with kitties. No, I'm teasing Ross a little bit because Ross is usually a very, very busy person and does a job that unfortunately I would not have the stomach for, and is an amazing one of our North American EMS heroes. And so I could not be in the least bit surprised that given the sorts of stuff they deal with on a day-to-day basis, a lot of different types of video games wouldn't necessarily appeal, partly because they might be too, I don't know, too cozy, even if they're not necessarily intended as cozy. But Ross does a good variety of games, and she's actually great at being a group game streamer. Meaning that she'll showcase gaming with other people, such as, what was you had yesterday? Shay and Mahaku, I think? And that was pretty cool. They play a lot of Phasmo. I'm trying to remember what its proper name is. That's the nickname. And Playtime with Poppy was another one. I watched some of the Playtime with Poppy one because part of it, like, I could handle that a bit better because as weird as it was and as much as you knew something was going to come out and get you and jump scare you at some point, I could watch that one because it had enough foreshadowing in it that I could handle that. The Phasmo stuff, even when I know there's going to be a ghost at some point, they always scare the snot out of me. So I just don't go through that because I don't handle it well. Zerk. Oh,
ads are starting.
Right.
Glenn will continue the conversation after the ads are over. Thank you for supporting the stream.
You're right. I keep forgetting that Zerk does as much as he does, aside from Minecraft stuff, because he always seems to be getting called to do something Minecraft related. Thank you very much for catching the shout out there, Fox. I appreciate that. Even when some of the other commands on my bot are going sideways and not showing up correctly, I'm glad the shout outs still work. Those are the key. Alright, so we've got that step done. We're on 26. So it wants more decorative panels to go in up top. Let's see what we've got. E2. Well, one of the things you can, as to what Ross said, thanks, and I was going to say, one of the things you can always count on, Ross, is that because I wing it on those types of comments, when I say them, I mean them. Because it's not easy for me to sound coherent when I'm not making, or when I'm not meaning what I say. One would think that, you know, saying what you mean and meaning what you say would both be interchangeable and just a common sense, but unfortunately common sense is not guaranteed. Alright, so we've got 6 of these to go around the outside. And just for those of you that came in a little bit later, this is the wooden lantern project. It says puzzle on it, 3D wooden puzzle. It's more of just a build. And it was a gift set from my Secret Santa, who I was very pleased to say revealed themselves as Jay. And that worked out beautifully. Oh, and Jay, for your curiosity, randomly, I think I may have mentioned this, but I'm not entirely sure. On my water bottle, that's where the doohickey you sent has been hanging. And I've been working with all kinds of versions of how to wrap up my tile in it, so it actually does wrap nicely. But then it sticks out funny from the side, so it's just how I mount it at the top. I'm working on that part still. But it was very nice at camp to be able to fiddle with that while I was dealing with the water bottle. Yeah, it worked out really, really well. So I just have to figure out how to mount it off the top, because there's not a whole lot of space there, and the tile bangs quite badly on the side. It's just noisy when I move places, so that's part of why I originally wrapped it up. And it made a much more pleasant sound. Okay, so we're just putting these up top. Big hole in the bottom, it looks like. Ah, that one went almost. There we go. Sometimes I think Osmond needs more context. As I had mentioned a little bit recently in Discord, I've been playing with the streamer.bot streambot has the ability to turn itself on for listening and take a feed off the microphone. And if so I could use verbal keywords to actually start talking to the bot. The problem is that I haven't figured out yet when to get it to stop listening, and also I'm not sure if I need to use another keyword to close it or what. But it also wouldn't have any context of what I've said previously. So when Oswin talks to you guys, Oswin gets context of the last 20 messages that went into chat. Now, unfortunately, that includes Oswin itself. So that is a little bit sus at times, because of course it gets all the announcements and it gets the chaos that it creates in terms of commentary. The other piece is I keep forgetting to derail this one is a disc of B5. I'm just going to put it on top of these pieces here. Where am I here? So anyways, it gets context from you guys, the last few messages, but because of course it wouldn't get the context if I said anything until I've keyworded it, and it doesn't know how to respond. That's part of why it doesn't respond to me, and you guys get some really dumb things said. I also keep forgetting to turn off Oswin's ability to talk to anybody when you're in the middle of playing Words on Stream. Not Words on Stream. Yeah. Words on Stream, or else I'm thinking Hangman. Excuse me a sec. So I'm still trying to figure out how to exclude the Hangman stuff from that. So that's part of why Osmond seems to say something rather nonsensical every so often in the Hangman game. Because on just about every single message, there is a percentage chance of Oswin randomly responding to that message. That's part of why he just seems to, they, whatever, seems to just pop out of the blue at times. You know, there are days I forget this isn't a purely overhead camera. I used to have it overhead. It had its pros and cons. Give me just a second, I'm gonna have to grab a sip of water. Alright, that should be better. So, context. See, it's that easy to forget. Good news, gas leak not coming from your house, coming from 2 houses down. For the life of me, I'll never understand why people don't report that stuff. Jeepers! That is very, very scary. Like, if a gas guy's here not... I mean, I'm actually wondering, though, is it possible that the people 2 doors down may not be home to know there's a gas leak in their house? Like, that's the other question I have. They've been smelling it for like 4 days. Really? What is people's problem? I don't know. Sometimes I want... Actually, that's not true. Sometimes I think I have a theory what people's problem might be. And that's rather unfortunate. Let's see if I just get the reflection going. We need some more decorative nuts, I think. Okay, D3. Sometimes I think I suspect what people's problem is, and I'm probably out to lunch here, but sometimes I wonder if they don't report these things because A, they don't think it's a big deal, which I think is really stupid because it should be a big deal, or B, they're worried that to get it checked, if it isn't an emergency, would, you know, have a cost for the call out, and they don't want to pay the cost for whatever the reasons are. I mean, maybe they can't afford it, or maybe they just don't like paying costs like that, you know? Like, I know people that have had water leaks in their houses, and they do their absolute best to fix it themselves before they will ever call out a proper plumber or whatever. And if you find out the water leak is related to, you know, your hot water heater, well, you really should have a plumber do it rather than try to do it yourself. I understand what you're saying about cookie cutter home shortcuts. I get it. Fantastic show. Fox and I used to live quite a long time ago, actually, in a condominium where there were 4 buildings? Or was it 5? Can't remember. But all put together by the same builder. And unfortunately, after we bought our condo, I can't remember how many years it was, a couple, 2 or 3? Anyway, the point is, I lose track of time like that, but the point is that we found out that shortcuts had been made in the way the buildings were built on all of the units. And so there wasn't proper ceiling on the roof, nor was there proper ceiling for everybody's balcony on their condominium to prevent water from getting in and down in the walls. So we all had multi-$1,000, I mean, it was like 2, I think, maybe $2,000 assessments on every single unit. And that was not pleasant. So I get that, you know, people do take shortcuts. I mean, even our house has some weird wiring. Yeah, ours has some weird wiring and some odd decisions that were made. Our house was actually, it's not fully cookie cutter. I mean, there's actually a few in the neighborhood on our circle that are cookie cutter. A lot of these are, I think they had about like 4 or 5 different floor plans you could choose from, and then the houses were mirror flipped as well. Sometimes mirror flip left, right, sometimes front to back, sometimes both directions, you know, that sort of thing. But for the most part, they're somehow a little different. Well, ours, inside, people decided that in the sort of main sitting room, there would be absolutely no overhead lighting whatsoever. And there's one switch on a wall that connects to one electrical outlet that you can put a standing lamp in. So as you can imagine, it's a bit of a dim room. So that's one piece we don't like. yeah, it's kind of weird. Another strange thing they did in our house, for some reason, I don't know what happened. We have a gas fireplace, but there was never a blower installed. So it's all correctly vented and everything to the outside of the house. There's no concerns there about ooze or anything like that. But there's no venting no blowers to blow heat into the room part. So if you sit close to it, you can get too hot. But you really only have, like, what, 3 or 4 feet, I guess. Maybe 5 at best. Did I punch out 7? 2, 4, yeah, okay. I only needed 6, that's fine. We have a spare! Yay! They finally gave us one. But they never put one of those in, so we haven't actually been able to get it installed, because every time we try to talk to some sort of, fireplace people to say, hey, this is the situation, we need to get a blower installed, they ask, what's your model? Well, that's one of the pieces of information we were never supplied with, because we bought our home in a way that was designed to be a spec home. What do we got? F3, okay. It was designed to be a spec home where it was going to be a show-off piece. So in other words, some elements of trim are higher end and some of them are like higher end than you would expect. As in, we had fiber to your door before anybody else in most of the neighborhood. That sort of thing. 6, 1, 2. There's a spare as well. Good. So we've got some good upgrades, like there was granite in there that was planned. We didn't have to actually ask for it, which was great. A few other little weird things like that. So it's just, we don't have those particular details. Yet at the same time, when people say, you go do things like how big is your yard or whatever, we actually still have the architectural drawings of like the floor plan layouts and everything with all the measurements and whatever on it that are not necessarily easy to get for a lot of homes. So I mean, there's weird pros and weird cons, but one of them is this stupid fireplace thing, because very few fireplace companies want to come out and try and figure out and or guess which unit would be the right one, and then try and come out a second time with the correct blower and install it. So we've never really got it dealt with. And I would love to have that. It would be something nice. We still put it on for ambience and stuff, but we don't keep it on. So it's just a little annoying at times. Just strange decisions like that. We have a bonus room where the peak part of it is like 22 feet. I don't know who needs 22 feet in their house. Most of it's like 19 or something. And then like we have, I think 10 or 11 foot ceilings in most of the house. So I mean, it's a fairly grand type house. I love a lot of it, but I'm really, really glad that we have yet to change the light bulb in our bonus room, because I'm not really keen on, going all the way up on a ladder for something like that. But, oh well, I like it, but there's not a whole lot of lighting in that room either. The fixture they put up there is not designed to light a room that large. So, yeah, like it's over our attached garage, which means that the lighting in there is a little crazy. So, I think it was designed as a media room, but the funny part is where the cable jack was for like the classic coax twisted pair cable is in a corner of the room, not up against the very, very large wall that they've got. And they also, we've seen other people's uses of the same layout where instead of putting a TV in that corner, they ended up putting in an electric fireplace, which just seemed a bit of an odd decision, but the way the plugs are structured on the wall would work well for that. So I don't know. It's the things that when you design a spec home and then you want to show off all the features so that people can then choose those various features for their own home, they can be a little strange. I mean, people have said the same thing. Like, we have a home lottery that happens every year as part of our Calgary Stampede, so that's sort of the whole greatest outdoor show on earth thing. And whoops, that's by the spare one. Okay. That'll be interesting. So we have that, and they always have like a version of all the features, but you know that if the home was actually laid out the way it was when people come and do the walkthrough on park, it would never really work as a house because the walk path is kind of dumb. And it's not just the rooms are sized down. that's for the walkthrough stuff, but it just packs so much in there that it wouldn't make a reasonable living space. Yeah, I hear you. We had some weird, we haven't had everything rewired, but we did, when we got some work done on the house, we did actually have to get some rewiring done and a new drop put in order to be able to handle a heat exchanger. You know, before I break that new one, let's take this broken one and just see what it would look like if I can get it in the spot I was working with, because I'm wondering if that spot should have been sanded. Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure how I would do that. Maybe this way? Oops, I'm off camera again. Yeah, Fantastic Show and Furlock Fox and I have a different set of priorities, but we each have our own sort of dream wish list of what we could do and or would do to the house if the whole, like, exploratory, you know, money, no object kind of minor renos. Well, it sounds like minor renos, but I mean, by the time you consider what you need to pull out or cut out in order to fish new wiring and stuff, a little ridiculous. But once we account for that, we each have our own wish list of what we'd do. One of the things he talked about is in our bonus room over our garage, it can get pretty hot. Now, it's the north side of the house, but it still gets fairly warm. So he talked about getting one of the large... There's a large ceiling fan brand that doesn't... It's got a name that would be technically considered unfamily friendly. But it's a really good quality product. And he would get one of those installed in our house. So that would be interesting, but we'd have to get the wall. He wants to put it in the bonus room. I mean, this is the one with the itty bitty light fixture and the very crazy high ceilings. So that would be quite a notable overhaul to the wiring in the house to get something to fit up there. Huh. Okay. Yeah. I have a feeling we're going to snap a lot of these, so maybe I'll just go with it. I'm not a fan of that corner. If I have to pull it out, I can, but I just want to keep this last one in case I break something worse. So anyway, I totally hear you with all the weird stuff. We did okay when we rent out our basement because we got the place unfinished. And they said, yeah, minimum requirements by law are one electrical outlet, like the dual outlet that's grounded in the whole 9 yards, on every wall, both interior and exterior. And you can add, I can't remember what it was we could add, but there was like, you could add up to 2 more, I think it was. We usually just went with 1 more in a lot of rooms. But that was really helpful to know that, which means then that if I can't find it, but I know that I haven't found any other plugs on that wall, that there is one. It's not like I'm going on a wild goose chase. Of course, though, 9 times out of 10, it ends up like behind the couch or something. I'm trying to keep these on camera, but it's not ideal. Ow! Unfamily friendly word. Insert your choice there. Ow! Okay, let's go this way. Drop it in my lap. Yeah, exactly. Code is very, very useful, but can be a right royal pain to deal with. A friend of mine that I used to work with years and years ago, and when I did internet tech support, pardon me, internet and computer tech support, he, when he finally left that job, he decided he was going to become an electrician. And so I got to hear on Facebook about all his ups and downs of electrical school and stuff, and how frustrated he was having to sit through hours and hours of code class. But he said, yeah, I mean, they gave him really good reasons in class, with accident examples of why certain codes are the way they are now compared to the way they used to be. And it wasn't just the changing of the types of wiring in the house. Really old houses have actual copper wiring in them that is by today's standards, a total fire hazard waiting to happen, you know, the whole knob and tube business. But yep, I predicted that, didn't I? Okay. But anyway, yeah, he said that they did a good job, though, of showing off what happens if things aren't done to code, and some of the really scary things that people still try to get away with. Thankfully, their instructors were former electricians who were also inspectors, and they were talking about a lot of the nightmares you see. It's the kind of stuff you see when, if you ever watch, I don't know if it's a Canadian thing or not, but there's a gentleman by the name of Mike Holmes who has a TV show called Holmes on Holmes. And he, one of the things that they have done, he's got a whole business, I mean, he's had a series of TV shows about it as well, but they go in and they take a look at the house and they talk about what the person wants to do. But a lot of it is renovation disaster. That was a huge fail. And he had another show, I think it was called Make It Right. And the idea being is that people would have spent their hard-earned savings on getting something changed or fixed or whatever in their house, and it went horribly wrong, like total nightmare story wrong. And his team comes in, takes a look at it, explains what should have happened, and does the work to make it right. That was what was going on there. But Homes on Homes is also about the home inspection side of it, because I think that was part of what his business does. In addition to the construction, yeah. Looking at the one I snapped down here, and I'm asking myself, because I'd snapped the other one, do I want to pull it out and try again, or do I want to leave it? And I think I might just leave it. I don't like that I'm leaving it, but I'm a little worried about making things worse. So, yeah, we'll stick with that. Anyway, next would be another plate snap on the top. Oh no, that's just the same one, but it's showing us with all the combs in. So it looks like I did something kind of right. Yay! We have a surprising number of steps here where they just show you the thing completed, which I find weird, because we could save yourself like an entire page of instructions if you didn't do that. A new section, which I think we're working on the upper handle now. Up there we've got... We've got some F6, F5, F4 times 2. It's these ones. 6. 11:36. $11:36 my time. Sorry, just it's noon. Was it noon to 2 Eastern is my usual window, and that would be 10 to 12 my time. So it's a little crazy, but I'm just trying to keep on top of things to make sure that I don't end up with a very plastic sense of time again. I do have that happen a lot. That's one of my particular symptoms, I guess. That's annoying because it means that I'm either waiting for things all day and can't do much of anything else because I'm worried about being late, or I get into something, get very distracted and very distracted, very wound up in it, and have trouble stopping, so that I end up late. Or I go, oh, you know, I'll be able to do whatever that thing is I need to do in like 15 minutes, complete, end to end. So I don't need to give more time for it, and I don't have any buffer. I'm getting much better at building buffers, but the thing is, I'm not good yet at communicating that I've built buffers. So what that ends up meaning, I can see this part coming, so that's why I'm leaving it there. That way I put the sheet aside. So, like yesterday for stream, in order to be on time for DC, which even very slightly off, but in order to be on time to start to get CK's raid, I needed to, I set an alarm for 10 minutes before stream, because I just had to move floors. And I was playing a game with my son, Still Runner, actually, weirdly enough. But anyway, we were using, we're playing away, and he started being highly concerned about what time it was, because he's got a very, it's a conservative sense of time, might be a good way of putting it. So, when it was 25 minutes before stream, he asked if we need to wrap up the game, because I was hosting the machine, and we need to finish. Give me a second here. I think it might have been triggered by wood dust, but anyway. He was asking me 25 minutes before stream if I need to stop. Like, no, I got an alarm set, we're good. Okay. So then, before my alarm comes off, Fantastic Sherlock Fox came up, and it must have been maybe 1:45, I guess, and he says, you realize 1:45? I'm like, yep, I know. I got an alarm set, we're good. We were in a mission, my son and I, doing something, I can't remember what it was, but my alarm goes off. He didn't catch that I had apparently snoozed it, but I said, okay, I got about 5 minutes, and then I need to go. Okay, great. And then, so we're wrapping up our mission, we're getting to the spot where we can just put our vehicles back in the garage and log off the machine. And then he asked me again. It's like, dude, I know. I told you I got about 5 minutes. I need to get going. Okay. And then Fantastic Sherlock Fox popped in. He's like, you realize you got less than 5 minutes. I know. And they hate it when I do that because sometimes I'll say that sort of stuff and be entirely wrong on my actual show up time. So, yeah. I can't blame them because neither of them trust me on that. We've had some fails in the past. Excuse me. I'm looking forward to that to go away. So both of them showed up and they were trying to help, really being helpful. It annoyed the snot out of me, so I started getting a bit irritable. And then when it was sub 5 minutes, Fox reminded me again, and I just said, I got it under control, I'm leaving the game now. And yeah, it was really sort of stressful, but then I got down here, and I was almost perfectly on time for a change, almost. Just minor tech issue at the very end, which I had not expected, by the way. Okay, and that was it. But then at the other end of the game, of course, this is part of why I have mods, because if I didn't have mods, I would be a little bit late, a lot. So for example, my way of hedging that when Fantastic Sherlock Fox is busy and the mods are otherwise engaged and unable to make it that day, I've got a little timer built onto 2 of my different Stream Deck button sets that counts down how much time I have till the end of stream. And it's green when I have time left, and it's red when I'm over time. At some point it switches to yellow, but I can't recall when that is. Okay, so once again, step 31 was to tell me to put it together. And step 32 here is showing me it put together. As I said, we can probably skip an entire page of directions if they would stop doing that. Okay, so this one, now we're building the actual handle. It needs some inserts. So we've got the big handle piece being E6, and the inserts appear to be these 4 of these from E3. Cool. Funny thing about streaming, excuse me. Okay, hopefully it'll be good for a few minutes now. Funny thing about streaming is, aside from that sort of me having a bad cough or something like that, one of the things I'm most proud of, tech-wise, this is part of why I watch the clock. One of the things I'm most proud of tech-wise is that, aside from me being sick and having to mute and stuff like that, which is great, I would never have thought I would need a set of foot pedals, but it's useful. But anyway, the best part for me was that I managed to figure out the, like the audio gates and stuff like that, and how to do a lot of the noise filtering. It's not perfect, and I don't sound as good as I could, but You guys have not heard any of the times that we've had, not that I'm aware of anyways, any of the times that we've had the lawn care people coming through and doing spray pellet fertilizer or aerating our lawn. You've not been able to hear any of the entire time we had people working in the mechanical room next door, like quite next door to our room here. We're pretty close. Doing what is E7? Okay, might as well punch those while I'm here. But they were doing the install for our heat exchanger, not heat exchanger. Ooh, what's that thing called? Basically, it's a heat exchanger, but I'm trying to remember what it's called. It's what people put in instead of air conditioning. And like they were in there doing all those installs and making changes to our furnaces for and pulling out a humidifier and all this kind of jazz. And you guys didn't hear a thing, which is great. I mean, I've had people working on the washer and dryer over my head and didn't hear a thing. I get distracted by people coming in the door over my head, more so than you guys ever hear. Heat pumps. Yes, thank you. That's exactly it. Heat pump. So it sounds silly, but that's one of the few sort of tech achievements that I'm kind of pleased with because, you know, so many other people have background noises of other people in their room or other things going on or whatever it is. And it just, you know, like they have no choice, or some of them have to cut their streams short because other things are going on in their house that they aren't able to get the sound to cut out for. And as I said, I'm no wizard, but I'm just pleased when I can make that work. So it's good to know that it's doable, I guess. It's funny. For 5 years, I did all sorts of, like officially did, all sorts of tech support stuff for computers and internet help and, you know, all that jazz and computer tech bench, and I've built computer towers from scratch and so on. But then, you know, I left to have kids, and somehow my confidence level just disappeared through the floor. I mean, I know what I'm doing and a bit of a dog on a bone to solve a problem, but sometimes I just don't really have the confidence that I'm going to do a good job, and so it's worth celebrating the little wins every once in a while. And when somebody else in the stream team has a challenge and they manage to get it solved, whatever the solution is in their world, like that works for them, I'm really pleased for them for the very same reason, because those are the sorts of things that can be really frustrating, but aren't necessarily, aren't necessarily recognized as the achievements they are, given that for a lot of these streamers in our Streamcraft community, it's very much a hobby. So it's not something their day-to-day job is or trained in. Now, the exceptions being people like Zerk with his streams of music while he codes. You know, techie is his day job. Tom, techie is his day job. Or, yeah, days right now, specifically. So, you know, I appreciate it. But I also go, oh, okay, well, when some of these guys, for whom it is their day job, have a challenge and they manage to solve it, I'm still pleased on their behalf. But I also kind of go, okay, what sort of weird problem did they have, and what can I learn, and how can I, you know, hedge so that I try not to ever have the problem they had. And you know, it boils down to one of those situations where in the end it's like, don't be like James, don't be like Zerk, or don't be like Tom, because if I did exactly what they did, then I could run the risk of having this exact same tech issues they do. You know? On the other hand, when they manage to stay tech issue free for months on end, then my brain goes the opposite direction, going, well, what are they doing that I'm not doing that I should be doing so that I can not have as many tech issues? You know, it's a headspace thing. But I understand why sometimes when you see a lot of tech issues, people who've thought about even purely guest starring on somebody else's stream get nervous because they don't know if they're going to have tech issues. Hey, that's a neat little handle. It actually has a good round feel to it. So, once again, we have another step showing us the completed handle. Yay. But now the whole mount goes on the lantern. So let's do that. We have 10 minutes left, and it looks like we might actually get her done. So this part just sits up on top. There's a couple little clip type pieces on the bottom here that I think are going into the slots at the end of my finger here. So when I talked a little bit about sometimes thinking of the overhead camera and thinking about going back to an overhead camera, and that's part of the conversation Fantastic Shock Fox and I are having, is just, is there a space that we could put stuff so that we could together come up with a physical setup? It's partly because right now we have duplication in terms of purchases for hardware. So for example, he's got a really nice webcam that he's offered to loan me. That's even an improvement over what I'm using now. But the thing is, I don't want to borrow it, partly because he's also using it as his main camera for his business meetings. And it's really good at that, if that's what it's sort of, you know, designed for. Therefore, I don't want to borrow it and potentially have him not have it when he needs it in a sudden meeting. So it's, you know, that means that I'm not using that one for any of the streaming. Yeah, okay. So there's, you know, there was duplication. For a while, like the camera that he had before, this current one that he really likes and I like, it was actually, excuse me, it's a duplication of, well, not duplication, it's now the one I'm using. And so as you can see, the webcam quality was decent. I mean, part of it is how you run it, and the software is a little picky, but it runs relatively well. So I like that. But we each had cameras, right? So it was a bit of a duplication. We didn't have sort of a streaming center. I haven't for a long time. So we've talked about how can we find a space where we could just permanently set up and have one set of cameras that just lives there, so that when I do builds like this or Lego or something, because they tend not to be on the same day as he's doing them, then there wouldn't be a collision for the space. And I think it's a great idea, but we also have different preferences in what we do and how we stream. So that's my hesitation. So we'll have to see how we each come up with things, because there's a lot of stuff that he disassembles at the end of every one of his streams, because he only streams once a month, that I would actually suggest leaving put. But if he's taking all the technology off of it, then there's not much point in leaving the poles behind. Yeah, if you have the room. One of the things I'm looking at doing so I don't have to do as much disassembly, like as in this camera, that one there that you're looking at, is it's on a clip, like a clamp. It's only about a foot off the desk. That's part of why I was talking about overhead. But that camera being only about a foot off the desk is great until we end up with something tall, which we've seen with this or with Lego. I mean, like the stuff that we've got is often too tall for my shelf, and the shelf can handle about 13 inches. Yeah, we're just about on the money. Okay, let's zoom this out a little bit more. You can see more of my messy, messy desk, right? Yoink. This is one of those, like, don't pay too much attention to the man behind the curtain. Alright, so what I'm looking at doing is I've got, this room needs a big cleanup. And so what I'm looking at doing is moving a physical desk that I have, like a wood one, from the other side of the room to just over my left shoulder. Yeah, right side to you. Over there, and potentially setting up for Lego there, so I could just do rotate, you know, and then deal with the Lego on that desk and not have to take this stuff apart. But that's I mean, I still need to do it. It's just, it's a huge move, and I'm not even sure if that's going to work, because right now the cables won't reach. So we have to order in some longer cables for this camera, which is worth it. But it just, I don't even know how long they are to try and pre-order in advance to make sure the project happens. I've been going to camp and stuff, you know, at least once a month, and then not feeling well and so on, so that it just wasn't worth moving the room in the last few weeks. But there we are. This is the beautiful, finished lantern. I love it. It is fantastic. And I mean, I've got a couple little quirks to it. I did not bring a battery down, So I will have to post a Discord picture of it lit up. But the bottom section you can see here has a battery spot. And it's one of those classic button batteries, the 2032. CR 2032, so I can put that in there. There's a little LED in the bottom, so I'll have to turn out the lights and get a good picture of it all lit up. But I'm very, very pleased. Thank you very, very much, Jay. I'm so impressed. This is amazing. Now, while technically I was slowing down the Lego to be once a month in March, we could do Lego next week, or we could do a game. So I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to see. I may throw a bit of an informal poll up on my Discord, just so that I get a vibe. And if I don't get an answer, then I'll have to pick, on the fly Sunday night. But otherwise, yeah. So I love it. It is wonderful. I can hear it click a little bit inside, and I think somewhere I've got, oh, I know what it is. Okay. So one of these panels up top that's just sandwiched in isn't quite solid, and it's got the room to wriggle just a bit. I think that's what it is. Yeah, something is wriggling, but it doesn't look terrible, so I'm just gonna, I don't even know where whatever it is, so it's fine. And I'm gonna be very happy to put this on my shelf, and it happens to be less than 13 inches, so it's gonna fit. I'm using some Kallax shelving, I believe it is, from IKEA for a lot of my Lego, and it's got a max interior space of 13 inches, and that's a problem for when we are building Lego, because some of my sets are way taller than that. But okay, so we're 5 to the hour. If we were to do Lego next week, we have two choices. We have either, most people I know are not a huge fan of brickheads, so I'm going to show you those first, but let you know that, yeah, these are some of the ones I like. So I've got the Harry and Cho Chang Quidditch brickheads, so we've got that as one option. And the other option we have is the 2025 release of the Dueling Club. I think it's 2025? Yeah, because they've got the little shield thing in there. So we've got that going, and those are the two options if we were to do Lego. This set is designed to go inside one of the Hogwarts Great Hall sets. I only own one Hogwarts Great Hall. I'm not really super keen on getting a second one, so this one may just be on its shelf without the thing. But yeah, those are the two options if we do Lego. So I'm going to start winding down and looking for someone to raid, because as you guys caught, I'm coughing a lot, so starting something new and going long would not be a great plan today. My next official stream day would be Wednesday, and that would mean that, where am I here? That Wednesday would be either Foundation or some more modded Minecraft, and right now I've temporarily shelved my solo modded Minecraft. It was okay. I enjoy it. I will probably go back to it, but maybe on one of those weeks where we're not doing Lego, so if we did, say, a modded of one type, and then Foundation, and then modded of another type, that might work. But anyways, as far as where we're going, I'm betting, well, we've got a 50-50, so we can go to Jade, Maribel Jade, or we can go over to Genfire. I don't know if you guys have a preference, but I'm leaning towards Jade just because that's where we've been going for a long time, and we're quasi-expected. Not expected, but as in, we're unsurprising when we show up. But then, both of those channels can be fairly busy. So, eeny, meeny, miny, mo, Jade. Yeah, let's go with that. I didn't look at the viewer counts. She's lower right now, so that's a good one. So I'm going to raid out there. I hope you guys had a great day, and that you guys saw something you wanted to see. Actually, just before I do that, I should probably putz just a little bit longer. I know it's kind of rude, but it would be nice just in case I get a surprise. I don't always, but sometimes I get a surprise from people on our team. And so that means I don't, miss raiding one of them. I don't know. It's always awkward at the end of a stream when somebody goes, "Okay, is the next person there? Are we ready to do this stream handover thing?" And it's funny. I remember a year or so ago, the Deadcraft 73 team was very, very big on doing handovers. Some of the stream teams that we sort of emulate in our stream weekends, or had started out emulating, would meet centrally because they were all on the same server, and they'd do a nice verbal handover through group voice chat and stuff like that. And we tried doing that. A number of us had audio challenges, and then also some of us started getting a little bit of Minecraft burnout, so we wanted to do something else on stream weekends other than Minecraft. So there was some of our membership who wanted to be part of the stream weekend from the wider DC community who don't play Minecraft or don't play Minecraft on stream, so they wanted to do something different, and that made the audio handover kind of silly. So we just dropped off, and we haven't done it in a while, and I'm fine with that. Totally cool, because it's one of the biggest tech headaches known to man to not get multi-crossed voices and stuff. We're now officially at the top of the hour. My little red light is blinking at me saying, hey, you're yakking into overtime. And I do not see anything that we're missing, so let's just start that raid to Jade with a pre-given apology, knowing that if I made a mistake and we missed someone on our stream team, do please be alert for that, and we will apologize to them in future, I guess, maybe? But yeah. Because I don't think I can drag my feet any longer. I'm approaching making Wolfen's worst blooper for how long she took to raid out, just a walk in the park. So, we're going. You're very welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for coming by. I appreciate that. So we'll switch on over to the other screen and get our thank you there. Interesting. It seems the next one up is Monday. That's not true. That was today. Next one up is Wednesday. Anyways, we thanks to Jay for the resubscription. I appreciate that very much. Also, thanks to being a part of the moderation team, Jay, as well as Mama Bear and Fantastic Sherlock Fox. And we had great conversation otherwise from Ross. So we're headed on over to Maribel Jade. Do give her our best. I will be there for a bit and then head off to do some other stuff. But until Wednesday, have a great day, and I will see you then. Bye-bye for now.
Transfer complete.